Astrobot is scary. It's frightening to play a game that completely understands what it wants to be and knows full well how to accomplish it. The game is a portal back to a time when video games were just allowed to be. A time where outside forces, deadlines, and a whole host of other problems didn't plague this medium we all love. This game has reinstated my faith in a genre that has always been my favorite. While it may not have exactly reinvented the platforming wheel, the game's ability to be so spot on in all its aspects is what impresses me so much. I think that in itself is what gravitates me to Astrobot. This game feels like something I've played before. However, it also feels like that very thing has been forged into this refined shape over time. So yeah, Astrobot feels like stepping into a portal of the past. But it also feels like on the way back to the present, he picked up a few things from his peers along the way to reshape this new platforming future. And I want to talk about it. You are watching a Astrobot retrospective. I think infectious is the word I use to describe this game. Coming into this colorful robot-filled world and after fully completing Astro's Playroom, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of what I was in for. I was at least expecting the basics. Solid platforming, at least okay music, and hopefully fun environments. What I did not expect was to become completely enveloped into this ecosystem, this galaxy of escapism. I did not expect to be humming the music of this game even while not playing. I did not expect to fall completely in love with these level locales. And I definitely did not expect to finish this game and immediately jump back in for a second playthrough. Astrobot has crafted a world that I have a lot of trouble leaving. How is that even possible? Paint these little robots yellow and give them a set of overalls, and you're basically playing a Minions video game. And yet, I can't look away. I don't want to leave. I would rather be hanging out at the crash site with some of my favorite characters of all time, listening to parts of a PS5 sing me a song, grabbing puzzle pieces, and customizing my controllership. This game has an act for turning the ordinary into intriguing. Rather, it's something like cleaning a beach to help some turtles, or rescuing a trapped jellyfish underwater, or nursing a mountain with a fever back to health. There's never a beat miss in fun or variety. Level locations and the goals the game sets for you never fail to have a sense of familiarity mixed in with innovation. In Astrobot, you can go to what seems like a simple rendition of a beach level and end up scaling the cliffs surrounding said beach with a monkey backpack, until you reach the top and end up fighting a giant pirate robot. You could go to an Asian-inspired bathhouse and end up becoming a giant robot sponge, focusing on filling yourself up with water and expelling it on flames in the area as a form of puzzle solving. You can go to a world revolving around cheese and mice and end up warping down to the size of a rodent with complete control of when you want to revert back to proper size. This game gives you a strikingly large amount of control on whatever new thing you're doing. You never feel out of the loop or at the mercy to a new mechanic. It always flows naturally into the gameplay. Mechanics like the dog upgrade have this act for never being anything but a plus. Its focus on being a type of offensive thrust works great on taking care of enemies or just adding to the base platforming. With pretty much no type of cooldown needed for use other than touching the ground again, it can become one of the more stylish ways to traverse in this game. There's no drawback to using it, so it can quickly become a power-up you start to rely on. Its introduction in Construction Derby was so good I immediately became accustomed to the upgrade and found myself wishing I could take it with me past the end of the level. The same could be said with the punching gloves. They're incredibly fun to have on. They become an instant classic the second you throw your first punch. Controlling two separate mechanical arms with the shoulder buttons is such a simple idea that was executed perfectly. The way in which they naturally extend Astro's attacks, while also adding in a bit of flair, will have you revisiting the levels it's used in often. Combat is never something I'm ever itching to get into in a basic platformer, so having fun ways to make it interesting is a plus. Using the arms to swing across levels has a certain charm to it that's hard to explain. Connecting both hands to a slingshot, backing up and feeling the tension tighten in the DualSense controller until you're flung across the map brings a type of satisfaction that you just need to feel for yourself, which for itself can often be a theme for anything in this game. Astro Bot is an explosion on the senses, in a good way of course. I've never really played a game that had me eagerly looking forward to exploring a brand new area just so I could run through ice cream and sprinkles? I can't say I ever expected to say a sentence like that, but this is an activity I found myself spending an embarrassing amount of time in. I cannot tell you how long I initially spent in Creamy Canyon for this, running through ice cream filled sections and trying to clear them out just so I can enjoy a waffle cone floor showed a side of my OCD I never knew I had. This kind of thing is what really makes me enjoy these levels, just stopping for a second and running around for a bit. You can really see that no stone was left unturned. There's always something to interact with, always a tree to hit and make something fall. There's always a chance to spin around in some apples or some gems or any random things. There's always a weird place to stand and to be rewarded with an invisible coin. These levels, while being mostly linear in design, tend to be so mechanically packed with things to do, it's always worth stopping to take a breather and enjoy how beautiful the game is. I can't tell you how many times I just stopped, panned the camera back, and let Astro Bot dance along to the tune of the level. While levels themselves are really not that big in size, the way they're so densely packed with detail and polish shows a sense of restraint. The goal here clearly wasn't quantity. The size of levels were not trying to meet some quota. Picking a level, seamlessly riding my controllership down to a world, exploring to my heart's content, and playing with whatever wacky new mechanic or level feature is nothing that I call groundbreaking. The reason it works so well, or at least for me, is because the levels are just so darn fun and varied. Play Astro Bot from start to finish, and you really feel like you've seen it all. You go to so many wacky and inspired locations, which can be really important in any course clear platformer. There's always something fresh just around the corner. You could play through Slow-Mo Casino, an aptly named casino which sees a focus on wearing a PSVR2 headset as a slow motion device. Completing platforming challenges over poker chips, playing die, and electronic roulette wheels would have already made for a fascinating locale. Adding in the slow-mo mechanic for more involved platforming takes it to another level. All of the bright neon lights and upbeat casino music made it quite a standout early on. There's an infectious atmosphere here, and I really can't get enough of it. Furnace Fever is one of my personal favorites. The level revolves around getting a volcano suffering from a temperature back to health. You get to platform over lava, grind on rails, and avoid fire versions of normal enemies. I love the use of rubber duckies spewing water to cool a path for you to run across, all with this rockin' soundtrack in the back. I don't know, man, this level heavily stood out to me on my first playthrough. What I like best about the level framing here is a sense of progression. The whole time you're playing the area, you can just about see the volcano in the back suffering, until you make it there and can subdue his temperature by throwing a giant rubber duck in his mouth. Then you can celebrate by chilling in the new cool spring. I love when a game's level has an actual end goal that isn't always the arbitrary end flag, and there's more levels just like that in the game. They don't always have to have some greater mission. More often than not, you find yourself climbing to the top of some big thing, but the process is always cool. I think that's why I find Trapped in Time pretty fun. The whole level is structured into getting to the top of a giant hourglass. I did say I fell in love with these level locales for a reason. I love the beginning of the level when you fly through the desert and crash in, leaving a controller-shaped hole in the glass. Using the chicken power-up to help with making your vertical gains makes the progression here feel natural as ever. You get to go in and out of the labyrinth while making your ascent, so the level ends up feeling a lot bigger than it initially looked when you first arrived. I don't know, I found this section really interesting, and I can see this level getting underrated for some reason. There might not be anything super grand here, compared to the other levels, but the level theming is so cool. I just don't want to see this one go underappreciated. Trunk of Fun is, well, it's the most fun level I think I've played in years, maybe. I can't really recall a time when I played a new level in a game, fully finished it, grabbed every collectible I could, then immediately jumped right back in for a second run. I love everything here. The calming beginning of running around this pasture at your own pace, doing whatever your heart desires. You can watch some ants forage for food. You can take a nap with a cow if you want to. Maybe play some golf. You might even start to question where's the rest of the level. Help these little ants water this dying pod and watch it grow into the biggest tree imaginable, all while it sings you a song telling you to climb into its mouth. This is where the real level takes place. You run around the inside of the tree trunk and platform your way up and all around the outside of the tree branches. The elephant backpack is definitely one of my favorite power-ups in the game, and no doubt helps make this level my favorite. It's mechanically satisfying to control. It's so fun choosing when to use the limited amount of goo you have to make platforms, refilling it when you can from refill spots, or just taking it from enemies you killed. It's probably the most involved power-up because of how much you need to think to make sure you're applying your uses of it in proper spots. A lot of collectibles are often in hard to reach places, so you'll really learn how to stretch out your goo. Higher up in the level, you'll pick up honey instead. Using honey as a makeshift bouncing platforms just extends the uses of the elephant backpack even more. Reach the top of the tree, and you find a trio of some baby birds still in their eggs. You use the honey platform to jump on top of them and suck the yolk out of them. Oh my gosh, that got kinda dark, man. This level just harbors everything I'm looking for. All the escapism, all the progression and pace, and most importantly, it's some downright fun I really was not expecting to have. I'm not sure if it's just me, but this one really does it for me. Progression-based levels are pretty fun, but that's not all the game has to offer. Of course, this game does offer its fair share of course clear objective-based levels. I like Wormy Passage. It makes a pretty nice cavern setting, and you won't see me complain about using the punching gloves more. Boxel Bust Up is pretty cool with its more retro feel, and I'll just say it, Minecraft look. If there's one thing I enjoy doing here is breaking apart anything and interacting with the satisfying particle effects. Rocket Pool Power goes for the classic fire and ice pairing. The juxtaposition of starting outside a snow-covered area, climbing to the top and dropping inside a cavern with molten lava is pretty intriguing. It gives me serious Freeze Flame Galaxy vibes from Mario. Though these levels are pretty fun, I really like the stages that have a slight sandbox feel to them. It's nothing revolutionary, but I found Saving Big Brother as a pretty fun variance to the gameplay. Running around the area, breaking Big Brother's restraints, while also collecting the various game collectibles had a nice charm to it. It gave the level its own sense of pace. I could explore this island to its fullest and didn't have to worry that I missed anything somewhere, since the whole level is accessible to you from the very beginning. I had all the time in the world to find any secret area or hidden level that was tucked away somewhere, and that was a nice change of pace. There is still a natural sense of progression here. Whenever you break one of the restraints, you can see Big Brother slowly getting freed. And when you do finally set him free, you get to climb on his back and celebrate the end of the level with him. It's nothing monumental, but man does it feel rewarding. In my book, it makes a successful contained little area to play in, and it was a pleasant surprise. But if you want to hear about the best sandbox type level, then we have to talk about Bubbling Under. Bubbling Under is magnificent. It's a contender for the most beautiful level in the game. Allow me to take you there with me. You ride in on your controller ship and crash land into the sand with nothing to accompany you other than the sound of some penguins. There's no music, no enemies, just some chirping and the sound of water swaying back and forth. There's nothing here but a dock beckoning for you to jump into the water, and when you do, you're hit with the intro to this level's soundtrack. It's peaceful. It's sublime. It makes you feel like you can just stay here and float for eternity, but it's literally just the beginning. Because once you get that penguin power up, take a second to swim and get accustomed to its speed and control, you can use it to swim up some waterfalls, avoid some jellyfish, and when you reach the full level, well, this underwater playground immediately opens up to you. With the penguin power-up, you can effortlessly explore anywhere here in this cavern, swimming around through old pirate ships, around jellyfish and geysers, breaking the restraints of a giant starfish, all to what I considered the best soundtrack in the game. This level gave me this feeling of escapism I didn't know I was even looking for, and it kept me here a lot longer than I needed to be. It got to the point when I was just swimming around, just taking it all in. On my first playthrough of this level, I remember just thinking, wow, this level is beautiful. And this music personifies what I think floating away peacefully feels like. On the flip side, you know what I did not expect to enjoy in this game? Challenge levels. No, not these challenge levels. These aren't that great. They pretty much just sum up to you fighting random enemies and already used level settings. I guess they're fine for an offshoot level completion route. At most, these are inoffensive. What I should have said instead are the challenge runs. The first time I stumbled upon the Triangle Galaxy, I was taken aback by the beauty and serene atmosphere. Who would have thought it would lead to a series of some full-on platforming gauntlets, and a pretty good number of them too. I became addicted the moment I took my first step in one of these. These runs are just the perfect mix of every tricky area from pretty much every level in the game, all brought together to make some pretty sick challenge courses. Some of these runs can really stump you for a while, and with the use of proper gimmicks being thrown in, the runs continue to feel fresh. As the seasoned Crash Bandicoot player I am, I was actually surprised to lose lives on these runs. I really hate to say it, but I died a lot more than I was expecting to in this game. My favorite of these runs by far is Splashing Sprint. This run has all the stops: rubber duckies, spitting fire, spike balls, breakaway floors with ice physics, and enemies everywhere. Really wouldn't be surprised if this one took you anywhere from a couple to a dozen tries. It got pretty bonkers. The best part of these levels is the way they make you feel like you need to go fast. When the music starts and you see that bot you need to rescue getting yanked away right as it's in your grasp, it really feels like there's a timer ticking down to seconds. Like if you don't reach the end in time, the bot will be lost forever. In my first couple of runs, I swear I was accidentally becoming a speedrunner trying to keep up with the pace of the level makes you feel like you're going at. It got to the point that I would replay these runs just to find the fastest or more stylish ways to complete them. They became adrenaline rushes to finish these sections. I was beyond happy to see the Great Master Challenge. This type of stuff is always welcome. Saving the last big gauntlet for the end will always be a satisfying test of the player's skill. I want more of this stuff. It was by far the best platforming in the game. Everything the player has gone through in the adventure all thrown at you one last time. The run even lasts longer than the other ones. It starts to feel like an endurance test, trying not to make a mistake here. A fantastic surprise waiting for you just above the crash site once you reach that bot requirement, and one of my favorite things in the game to complete, and more importantly, replay. Let me tell you about a pleasant surprise in this game. Boss battles are actually really good. Platformers are special in this type of regard because from what I've experienced is that bosses in these games usually range from baby easy to frankly just not that interesting. But man, are these some good bosses. I was really satisfied to see how much care went into them. Instead of them just being a single level just to fight some big thing on a platform, these fights are straight up set pieces. That first one against Mighty Chewy really opened my eyes to the scale Team Asobi was working at. Jumping from a crumbling building to the next as he throws projectiles at you to run across is just so sick. Sometimes Chewy will grab the entire platform you're on and force you to jump back and forth before putting the pieces back together. I love the way the camera pans over whenever Chewy is bringing up an obstacle. It shows there's some direction or vision that went into these fights. Adding in power-ups in these sections was a really good idea. The interesting ways you need to use them can really keep the fights fresh, like using slow-mo against Mecha Leon. Being able to pick when to slow down time at any moment in the fight is extremely satisfying. It almost feels like cheating. My favorite thing to do is to slow down time and beat up every enemy before it ends, so in real time it looks like Astro Bots, Quicksilver, or Sonic the Hedgehog. What can I say, I'm easy to please. What all these fights do really well in one way or another that I enjoy is that they never forget the game as a platformer first, like using slowdown to make platforms to help you get across gaps and reach Mecha Leon, or jumping from building to building against Chewy at the beginning of the fight, or in the last phase of Wako Taka when he swims back and splits the entire freaking sea and forces you to book it over to him. This one in particular is my favorite because 1, I was not expecting it, 2, it looks amazing, and 3, the whole time you're making your way over there, he's shooting waves at you trying to drown you. It adds so much to the gravitas of the fight when the whole thing doesn't just take place on one platform. I'll admit, the game really faked me out with the Lady Venomera fight. My first time playing it, I thought to myself the fight might be a little light on the spectacle compared to the others. The fight was fine as it was. The chicken usage during I thought was less interesting than it could have been, mostly just using it to stay off the ground when there was acid or hitting Lady Venomera from underneath. Again, it was fine. One thing I did really like was how the game kind of puts you in a soft tutorial when you first arrive, showing you how damaging the boss would have worked. But it wasn't until the last phase when I immediately started playing this game with a giant smile on my face. Taking Lady Venomera, flinging her out of the building, and playing the rest of the boss fight on top of her, barreling down the valley was no doubt an impressive twist. I love this as the last-ditch effort to win the fight. You run along her stomach to reach her face and deliver the last blow. This part looks so good with the speed you're moving at, and it makes for a really impressive set piece for the finale of the fight. I remember this sequence made me sit all the way up the first time I played it. It's an instant classic. What's really cool about this part of the fight is that they took this gimmick and modeled an entirely different boss around it. The Falcon McFly fight takes place on top of the boss himself. You both fly through the valley as you avoid his beak and fight off enemies he spits at you. Using the iron ball to block projectiles and deflect his beak is one of the coolest looking things in this game. It's really satisfying. Again, it's really surprising I can sit here and talk about the boss battles this long in a platformer. But I think the fact that I can shows how interesting and varied they really are. They genuinely became something I look forward to every time I was about to finish a different set of levels. They were just grandiose enough that I knew I'd get to do something really cool once I reached one. That's not even mentioning the many offshoot bosses in this game that just show up at the end of basic levels. While I won't go over every single one, I'd at least have to mention Denji of the Lamp. Pretty much this entire level is just leading to the inevitable boss fight, and it's just so cool. You start the level exploring this beautiful Arabic village in the desert, and before you know it, You're rubbing up against a giant lamp until Dingy bursts out, picking up the entire village apart and making a sand tornado. You make your ascent up the flowing debris until you reach the top and battle Dingy. You even get to use the doll backpack in the fight, and the battle even has more than one phase, which was a bit surprising for a regular level boss. It makes me feel like Dingy might have been one of the developer's favorites, and since he's the only boss you fight on 2 separate occasions, I'm going to assume I'm right. The battle against Space Bully Nebulax was better than I expected, if I'm being honest. As a finale, I couldn't have asked for a better place to fight him than on top of a giant PS5 floating in space. With there being multiple power-ups to use, I found myself re-entering the fight just to see all of the phases. I should be clear here when I say these fights are good, I do not mean difficult. I don't need, nor am I looking for a platformer's boss to be hard for me to enjoy it. What I care the most is the level of polish, spectacle, and fun to either be on par or above than just another level. Bosses are normally what you're working forward to in any game, and if one feels really underwhelming, then I end up feeling like I wasted my time, or like I'm doing all these levels for no real payoff. Thankfully in Astro Bot, that never really happens. This is random, but I think Astro Bot somehow reinstated my faith in motion controls of all things. While the option was always there, I never turned them off. I oddly looked forward to the little moments when I needed to wave my controller left or right. From riding my controller ship and trying to nab every last puzzle piece at the beginning of levels, or random offshoot minigames like watering plants or playing a shoot 'em up with some ghosts. I never found any of this stuff unintrusive. The DualSense controller is already a major extension of the game from the sounds and haptic feedbacks that's going on constantly during gameplay, so I always found the motion controls as extremely natural additions. Their overall control is really smooth, and hate to say it, but it actually feels better than the Wii motion controls. And that's the last time I ever thought about this type of gimmick seriously. Last time I enjoyed it too, so it really took me by surprise. I mean, they're not completely without flaw. Climbing with the monkey pack is a little much. It requires a type of pace that will probably have you thinking about turning off the motion controls for a bit, but the sections that it's used in are often brisk enough that they don't end up completely ruining the gimmick for the whole game. I'm glad it wasn't a power-up that was repeated often, because that could have really changed my thoughts on the motion controls. I guess that's kind of what helped their case overall in this game. The moments they use the motion controls never tend to overstay their welcome. It's a very contained use of the gimmick, and I appreciate it. The game is also just full of distractions from the motion controls anyways. Looking back, I think this is the first game since my days playing Mario minigames on the DS that I've been asked to blow into my controller for game progression. That really took me back for a moment. I enjoyed it for sure, but I definitely wasn't expecting it. I suppose the only place I could realistically see someone turning off motion controls is in Play Squadron Go. I love this section. The music, the pace, and the sound effects are really something special, but it might go on a little longer than someone might want. I honestly couldn't get enough of it. Riding my controller ship into the unknown of this black hole, playing a straight up shoot 'em up with the cannon on the front of your ship, with all your allies riding on old PlayStation hardware. You even get to work alongside different generations of PlayStation characters. I mean, how is this not peak? it feels like I'm forgetting something. I wonder what that could be. Oh yes, that's right, bots, the main collectible of this game. How'd I miss that? I guess me being able to talk about this game this long without really going into bots is me trying to combat the nostalgia claim this game is up against. I won't fight it too hard. There's a lot of this game that banks on nostalgia. Nostalgia in video games can be a really interesting thing. I think its ability to cloud judgment is very important to pay attention to, especially in Astro Bot. There are very few games that use some form of nostalgia in just about every aspect of its design the way Astro Bot does. I guess you could say Astro Bot himself is almost the embodiment of PlayStation nostalgia. Along with all his many callback idle animations, there are no doubt hundreds of super tiny Easter eggs of either PlayStation hardware or games plastered all over and just about everywhere you go in this game. And the bots are the biggest attractions. One of the best parts of exploring a new level in Astro Bot is the joy of finding out which cameo bot is running around somewhere. Seeing an old favorite character to a game you love will never not put a smile on someone's face. What's important in this regard is that even though these cameo bots exist, they handle in a way that never feels like the game is just shoving nostalgia in your face just for the sake of it. With bots acting as the main collectible of the game, and after watching the opening cutscene and seeing them getting scattered all throughout the galaxy, going on a grand quest to save all your bot friends doesn't seem like a forced objective. The entire population of bots already exists in a giant PS5, so why can't a bot be dressed up as Nathan Drake or a Ratchet? At the end of the day, you're still just saving bots, and if that means while you're achieving that goal you get to enjoy a moment to reminisce about an old favorite game you used to play, then I say that's nostalgia done right. There are so many PlayStation characters from every era to find. If you ever had a PlayStation console of any kind, then there will definitely be a character from some game that once brought you joy. There are some real deep cuts here, I tell you. Klonoa, Toomba, Patapon, my goodness. I knew he was going to be in the game somewhere, but you already know I was flipping for joy when I found Crash Bandicoot and Aztec Trail. Oh yeah, that's another thing. When they could, cameo bots were placed pretty respectfully. You can find them in environments that complement their character, like finding Crash and Jack in a jungle setting, or Polygon Man in Boxel Bust Up. I really like how Lara Croft is sneaking for treasure. This makes the callback all the sweeter. This is going to sound like a reach, but the first time I played Slow Mo Casino, I was taken aback because the level immediately reminded me of one of my favorite levels from one of my favorite games, Boneyard Casino and Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. I mean, maybe it's just because the levels are based in casinos, but I really think there are some more similarities here. Either way, as I played through this level, exploring it all, rescuing bots, it didn't take me long to come across this platform floating in the air. Further inspection, I realized it was a jail cell, and who of all possible bots was sitting inside? Sly Cooper was right there, and when I saw him, as silly as it sounds, I felt like the game made this one moment for me. It's a hard feeling to explain, but it just makes me wonder how many moments like this exist for other players with different bots. In this sense, this game sometimes feels like a PlayStation museum. Playing through these levels and finding certain bots might just evoke these sorts of one-of-a-kind feelings from players. When you're working with emotions like this, you can really make game moments someone will always remember. With a system like this, it can also teach a lot too. There are so many bots in this game that I straight up don't know. But I want to. I've been going back and looking at what games some of these bots are from, and I want to play them. First on my list is probably Okami. This game looks pretty sick. I could see this happening for other people, picking up some new games just from discovering bots. This isn't even mentioning crossover levels. Having Astro Bot transform to some of the bots you save and play an entire level based on that bot's game worked out so much better than I could have imagined. Playing as Kratos and using an actually working Leviathan axe was quite a surprise. It actually plays like God of War. It's awesome. You get to shoot a gun like Nathan Drake and explore ruins. It's a nice touch that treasure you can find are precursor orbs from Jak and Daxter, another Naughty Dog staple. And the Aloy level actually got me to finally play Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm happy to say I really enjoyed that game, and I have Astro Bot to thank for that. But when I saw Spike and Loco Roco pop up, I just don't have the words to explain how happy this made me. If you would have told me at the beginning of my playthrough I'd be playing a brand new level of Ape Escape, I just wouldn't have been able to take you seriously. You actually get to use the time net, and the bots you collect are monkeys. You have a working monkey radar from the game. You can grind on rails while nabbing monkeys, then you can go to the top and have a battle against Spectre. one of the best bosses from the PS1 altogether. I mean, oh my gosh. This is a crazy thought, but this game is probably going to be a lot of kids' first time being exposed to Loco Roco, and that just makes me laugh. These cameo bots are so great and some of the best collectibles a game could have. They will never get old for me because the game allows them to be more than just nostalgia devices. This is also probably because of the sheer number of bots you end up saving. There are over 300 bots, and not every bot is a cameo, so it's just every now and then when you get to enjoy these special bots in your gameplay. Gameplay that, I'll admit, surprised me because at first, I wasn't sure what type of game Astro Bot even was. Astro Bot is a game that I'd say effectively blurred the lines between linear platforming and collectathon gameplay in a way that pleasantly surprised me. While I am most certainly a platformer guy, I'm not really a collectathon guy. I haven't finished the original Mario 64, I've still yet to play a Banjo game, and I've only finished one Spyro game at 100%. However, Astro Bot always had me combing through levels looking for every last bot, puzzle piece, or secret I could find. Some of them are incredibly obvious places along the main path, most likely to keep a good pace for the levels. While some things can be very well hidden, it wasn't too uncommon for me to re-enter levels looking for just one puzzle piece or some stray bot. Typically in a collectathon, levels are based around bigger areas that focus a lot more on exploitation. Generally wider levels that feature some type of core gimmick or landmark that keeps the players from getting lost when exploring. While Astro Bot does experiment with a few levels like the ones we talked about earlier, the main core levels in this game are course clear, which is something I've always preferred. I've always thought you get better, more focused platforming when developers control where exactly you'll be going in a level. Astro Bot uses this type of gameplay philosophy to its strength. The levels have a really good sense of progression, along with some form of challenge in some places more than others, and enemies that you're forced to engage with. This isn't major, but in most collectathons I've played, I normally just walk around enemies in the world that aren't gatekeeping collectibles. Enemies become a complete second thought when they're just running around a wide open space. With this stuff included, this game has an overall level design that has some really good pace with its collectibles. It reminds me mostly of Spyro 1 when you played through linear levels while also focusing on saving dragons. Bots can be hidden pretty well, so there are still times when you're retracing your steps in these levels, and it can be real fun to finally find a bot tucked away somewhere. The perfect hybrid platformer. Because of stuff like this, I wouldn't be surprised if you just spent hours wandering around levels just for the sake of it. Maybe to look for bots, maybe to look for puzzle pieces, or maybe just to enjoy these environments. I wouldn't be surprised if you sometimes just get on the game to run through the crash site and see all the bots you collected. I wouldn't really be surprised if maybe you hopped on just to try to get a good run on some of the challenge levels. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really sure why the initial game didn't come with time trials on the base levels the game came with. They've added free updates for some new time trial levels, but I don't even think that was needed. The levels are that good, just adding a clock to them and seeing how fast you could save every bot would have definitely sufficed. Maybe that's the Crash Bandicoot player in me speaking, I don't know. This game is a love letter to not just PlayStation, but 3D platformers and video games everywhere. I think Astro Bot is one of the best platformers that's ever been made. I've seen the talk that many people believe this game to be nothing more than a Mario clone. While I don't agree, I think that opinion comes from how well Astro Bot is. Platformers come in all shapes and sizes, but very few come out in a polished and content-rich state like how Mario does. Astro Bot is a very rare find in gaming. It has beautiful visuals, intuitive gameplay, one of the most pleasant art directions I've seen in a long time, phenomenal level design, a memorable soundtrack, all with as little jank as possible. You can look as hard as you want, and you're very seldom to find invisible walls, bugs, and glitches. When I think of a quality video game, I think Astro Bot. The fact that this game could be some kid's first game ever is a really surreal thought that makes me smile. I don't know what the future holds for Astro Bot. He's had a VR game, a couple of tech demos, and when you burst on the scene with a full-fledged game this good, it can be tricky to follow it up. But I'm sure Team Asobi's capable hands have it covered. Whatever that new game is, whenever that time comes, I do know one thing. I'll be there to play it.